Welcome to this week, and thank you again, all of you, for being here. I'm Kalamali, and this is Nara, and that's not for all of you who we know very well. This is just for the recording, of course. This week is how high should we aspire? And it's from Rays of the One Light, the weekly commentaries on the Bible and the Bhagavad Gita, showing their unity. Truth is one and eternal. Realize oneness with it in your deathless self within. The following commentary is based on the teachings of Paramhansa Yogananda. The passage this week is from the Gospel of St. Matthew, chapter 5. I say unto you, that except your righteousness shall exceed the righteousness of the scribes and Pharisees, ye shall in no case enter into the kingdom of heaven. The easiest explanation for these words is that they were spoken in criticism of the scribes and Pharisees, particularly since Jesus was often verbally attacked by them and stood up to them fearlessly. However, it wouldn't have been much of a challenge to the disciples who aspired to spiritual perfection to tell them, don't be like those who lack any such aspiration. Jesus, in fact, says only a few verses later, be ye therefore perfect, even as your Father in heaven is perfect. What Jesus was referring to here then was the self-righteousness of the priests. Don't seek perfection, he was saying to his disciples, in the image you project toward others. Don't be satisfied with a goodness born merely of ego definitions. The highest virtue is to transcend the very thought of personal virtue in the realization of God alone as the doer. Before this realization, even the thought, I am kind or I am truthful, is self-limiting. As it says in the Bhagavad Gita, the 7th chapter, yet hard the wise Mahatma is to find, that man who saith, all is Vasudev. Thus, through Holy Scripture, God has spoken to mankind. Oh, 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 oh.
It's such a beautiful presence about it. It's kind of saying, like, what else? What more can we do to find God? And one of our devotees here, John, always loves reading the first paragraph and then the last paragraph of each chapter of the autobiography, and it was interesting looking at this. I was looking at Yogananda's life from a really high perspective. What was his story all about? If we were to look at his story, what would we look at? Like, what would we be looking at? If we graphed his life, what would we be looking at? And it sounds kind of very scientific, but it's important to look at that and look at the goal. From the minute Yogananda was born, he knew that his mission was to unite with God. And everyone he met, every saint that he met, he wanted to unite with God. And, I look at that and then I reflect, well, what is God? Like, what are we searching for? And it's Satchidananda. It's that ever new bliss, that ever new joy. And, Yogananda aspired to that. And when we look at the autobiography of Yogi, the autobiography is really as much his journey, but also his guru's journey. So his search was for a guru, but his sole purpose for finding a guru was that he knew that they could unite with God, and that was his higher purpose. And it's so interesting because we look at our life and even one of a great master, and Yogananda started on this journey And you'll see that throughout the first part of Autobiography of a Yogi, he went on this journey of, I am going to find God. Mukunda, am seeking God, and I'm going to seek God through finding great saints, and then they're going to help me find God. And he had this vision of always wanting to go to the Himalayas, and he said, well, there I will find God. And then throughout the journey, you'll see his lives of ups and downs. And it's kind of interesting throughout this journey in Autobiography of a Yogi of a great saint, even to the point when he met Swami Sri Yukteswar, he still was on this I path. He still was, I'm not going to go and study. And his first experience, it was probably one of the highlights of Yogananda's life, finding and reuniting with his guru. But then he went on this dip, didn't he? He went all the way back down to the point of, hold on, I'm not going to go to university. And he kind of left. He went on this high, and then he went back down again, didn't he? And he kept going. And then his whole journey from there forth was with a guru. And it's really important. It explains throughout the Autobiography of a Yogi that a guru is really important in helping you find God. And that journey is really important, because ultimately what the guru is doing is holding a mirror up in front of you and showing you where God is. Mm. And every one of these great saints and gurus constantly put a mirror in front of them and show that they are not the one that's going to find them to God. They reflect to God and say, there is God. I'm not God. I'm just this vessel of God. And if you look at this journey, we've gone from I all the way through his life with ups and downs. And then he finds his guru, and there's still this journey of ups and downs. Just because he found his guru, there wasn't this flat line or this unity, even when he showed this unity. And it's not up until this point within Autobiography of a Yogi, from a big picture, that he then finds God himself, and he uses a statement, I killed Yogananda a long time ago. I got rid of Yogananda a long time ago. He just used this vessel. And from that point forward, that journey, if you read Autobiography of a Yogi, sounds like this amazing story of what his life was and what his actual mission was and where he went. And he wrote these books and he wrote all these amazing things. And when you think about that, you don't actually hear any of his struggles from that point forth. Now, that's just wasn't to say that he didn't have them. When you then read Swami Kriyananda's autobiography of his guru, you hear all the struggles that he went through, ups and downs, but from the guru's perspective, he just watched them. He was an observer. He was in the play of Maya, this whole connection between up and down. And the passage today, or what it seems to project, is that, yeah, we constantly can keep moving forward. We can constantly keep moving, but it's not until we find the point that we recognize union in oneness with all things is where we're heading. And at that point, it's why we need a guru, it's why we need the teachings, is to keep reflecting, keep showing these mirrors, keep showing us where it's from. And if anyone sort of knows me too much, I don't mind the odd whiteboard session, apologies, but I actually bought a whiteboard and I thought it'd be a little bit fun to show this journey in all things. And if we look at this, the beginning, what do we have? We have one. It's a bit crooked for you guys, but this is one. And then if you think about what happened in the beginning or creation, there was there was a creation. And I'll draw it in a different way. I might draw it in a little bit of a different way, but essentially, center everywhere, circumference nowhere is like God creating this vibration and plonking something in the great ocean. And if you look at the what it looks like from this perspective, from a center point, you'll have waves coming out similar to what would happen if you plonked a pebble in a very still body of water, plonk. And then these waves are created. And this is the vibration. And you can see this amazing vibration. It's the same as sound. It's the same movement of what goes on to make creation. This is center everywhere. It's from a looking up perspective. This is how we view the world. It's like this lineage view of where we are. And if we come down to this way where it's the waveform's almost still, it's like we've talked in previous Sunday sessions about how from the plant form where we don't have a will, we don't have this free will, essentially this waveform, we just go for the ride, you know, we're along, we have no ego, there's no element to it whatsoever. And then we have this evolution into the human world, and we are brought in with these huge waves. And the thing is that we feel that we're on this, our lineal journey is on this, and each one of us are on our own little journey. We create this wave because this one shines this beautiful light that comes out, doesn't it? Has this light that gets shined out. And what we see is this beautiful reflection. We come out here and we look at our world and go, oh, wow, I just need, you know, as a child, you think, I just need that shiny bike. That's going to bring me great joy. And you know what, if I could just eat lollies and ice cream every day, I'd be the happiest person in this world. And then all of a sudden you see this creation, we're seeking it. This thing out here has given us great joy and great happiness. And so we're on this lineal journey. We head out on this journey. The thing about that journey, like any waveform, is it has its opposites. So yep, I'm pretty sure most people can remember at one point when they had that freedom to eat as many candies or chocolate or chips, whatever you're savory or sweet. But how did you feel after you engorged yourself completely ridiculously with those amazing things that you thought brought you joy? Well, of course, you ended up coming back down this side, didn't you? You swung all the way up from complete joy to, oh, I'm never going to do that again. I'm never, ever going to do that again. And then all of a sudden you start picking up the next
Or, Mom, why did you let me do that?
Why, Mum? Why? Why did you give me freedom? And so we're on this continuous journey of up and down, aren't we? And you think about it, we've come into this world knowing that this oneness is here. We know we want to find this oneness. We know that this is here. We're still on this journey because at this stage we're still saying, if I meditate, it will bring me joy. And we come out here. Even that journey, if you think of Yogananda and finding his guru, he still thought the guru was out here. And then he spent the next part of his life with a mirror shining back into oneness. I am not God. God is here. The reflection is here. And at that point, the further Yogananda became as a part of this and recognized that he was a part of this, then he could see that the Maya, this life's journey that we're on, the vibration, is exactly that. And again, it's very hard because we kind of think in this linear way, but if you think of every drop in the ocean having its little waves, and we hear time and time again, the discussion of, I'm not the little peaks and troughs. I am the ocean. I'm the underlying ocean. And that's the sole goal. And our goal is to aspire to be along that path. It's always to return back to and recognize that we are actually this. This was created and we're on this journey, but we can now choose whether we constantly want to be watching this or we want to be moving within this. And a fun real life example of this was I was involved in training of emergency services, and obviously their sole goal was to go and get sick patients and pick them up and then take them to hospital really unwell. And what happened as a driving instructor or looking at the driving experience was, well, what happens? We want to get from A to B. We get given a job, and on that way, we have to move this 3 to 5 ton ambulance to get us that way. So science and truth tells us that to accelerate, we need energy, and we accelerate up, don't we? And we think, right, I'm going to get really quick. And then all of a sudden, we come to a set of traffic lights or cars stop in front of you. They don't know what you're doing. Now I've got to match the energy that's brought me up to bring me to a stop. And then I have to keep going, don't I? I have to keep going up again to build up my speed, because I think that the quicker I go, the quicker I'm going to get to that patient. And then next thing you know, another set of traffic lights or an intersection comes up that we're not quite sure, or the traffic's blocked. And then we have to use that same amount of energy to bring us back down. And what happens is we graphed it, we recorded what was happening within an ambulance ride. The average trip was 10 minutes. And then we did calculations to go, well, within 10 minutes, how long would it take me at 60 kilometers an hour, 70 kilometers an hour, 80 kilometers an hour to get us that same distance? And there wasn't much in it. There were seconds within it, maybe a minute within it. And we looked at it though, thinking, well, if I'm the person driving or I'm the passenger and I'm trying to prepare for this job and I've got all this expensive equipment, how do you think my ride's going to look? This is me reaching 110 because it goes fast. Yeah, it's fun. We get to put lights and sirens on and scoot really quick. It was absolute hoot. But then we'd have to come back down. And by the time we got to the job, everyone was completely spent, frazzled, all their nerves were frazzled. And who suffered in the end? The patient. So if you think about this in the long run, ultimately, the journey, instead of trying to reach 110, we could have gone 60, 70, 80, and then come back down, 60, 70, 80, come back down, 60, 70, 80, come back down. We're watching ahead. We're viewing what our goal is. What is our goal in life is to find God. But instead of doing this, trying to find our happiness through other things, if we continue to build on it slowly and gently, we actually get there in the same amount of time. It stops that swinging. And then you think, doing the same, often people say, oh, ambulance drivers putting their lights and sirens on, they must have a really sick patient. Guess what? The sicker the patient, the more we want this line to look like this, don't we? You think about laying in the back of an ambulance, trying to get you to hospital. You don't want to be doing those ups and downs. Imagine moving side to side. Every action has an equal and opposite reaction. The wave of life going on. We actually want this smooth ride. And it goes back to that graph that we talked about in the beginning, or the waveform that was creation. We can get caught in this. We can get caught in the happiness. We can get caught in all those things. And it's a really nice time to reflect on your life in this manner up until the point where you wanted to find God. Think of the ups and downs that it took you. It really basically takes you to rock bottom, or a point of, I can't do this anymore. I don't want to suffer anymore. I don't want to keep riding this roller coaster. I want to find something. And then this passage is all about, well, how do we move forward? We have this guru, but what is the ultimate that the guru wants us to do? The guru wants us to know that God is us. God is all things. Everything that we do, that is the higher thinking. It's the non-ownership, it's the non-attachment. And that's why it was such a beautiful, always, affirmation. What was it about? Humility. And humility is taking away the ups and downs, the ego of this thing, or I am going to do those things. Humility is about saying, I'll be the observer of all those things. But ultimate humility is we are one. Everything that we do is a part of God. We just have to keep giving it to God.
Thank you. That was really fun and insightful, very deep, and I know it's appreciated by everybody. Just wanted to share a few things that came to mind on this topic, and then we can go into sharing some music together. So this is a beautiful way of expressing humility as a way to find God as being a reflection of spirit. And I just wanted to highlight some of the exercises that we do as part of our Path of Kriya Yoga and how you can take them into your week and use this excellent model for how to apply that in your daily life as you go on. So we have, our meditation practice of Hong Sa or Kriya Yoga, and it's also energization exercises. So these are ways that we can become an observer that is beyond the I am doing. It is the one watching. So every time throughout this week, somebody says, oh, look at what a good job you've done, or look at how well your child is behaving, or oh, look at what a good meditation practice you've had. Or it could be oh, look at what I've done today. I really vacuumed well today.
You enjoy a good vacuum.
Yes, but it is not I who vacuums. So the idea here is just finding those opportunities throughout your week. And as our topic was, how do we aspire to be the best version of self, of higher self, of the capital S, the soul? You know how you said the soul goal?
Mm.
That came to mind as like that's such a great phrase. It is the SUL goal of life, to be the truest form of our being. But how do we do that? And you explained it so beautifully. It's becoming a reflection of spirit, but it's the unique spark of spirit that is us. Each of us is Atman. It's a soul, which is a part of the divine cosmic creation and ocean, but there's still a droplet. And that little droplet is our soul spark. And so let's make it our soul goal to become that observer and reflect more and more and more and more. That highest expression, the one that there's a part of them that knows when that soul is expressing in another soul. And they look to that and they get inspired and they get encouraged and they want to be like that. So let's go out into the world and be examples of humble yogis of the light. So thank you. I'm going to stop our recording and then play some music together.